In honor of Pride Month, you know that we had to do it up, so y'all already know what this means.
I'm gay!
Oh, homosexual!
Being gay just has its perks.
Welcome back to year 2 of forcing myself to watch every queer anime I can get my hands on. Now, for some reason, this year I made the deeply questionable decision to consume one of the most toxic genres in all of anime. BL and Yaoi. Okay, so I could have been impartial and taken the high road, but instead I chose violence, and parts 1 and 2 are evidence of that. We've made it through some of the worst anime I have watched in my entire goddamn life, and finally made it to the promised land of good anime. I cannot express how much of a monumental win it is to have finally made it to this point, especially now that I can somewhat start giving you anime that I genuinely do recommend. We still gotta get through some mid-anime, but I promise the good is coming. Now, I am not exaggerating when I say that I have never, and I mean never, suffered more for a watch list than I did for this one. So please consider joining my Patreon to help fund my therapy so that I can recover from this. I have uploaded an extended, uncensored version that you can scan for here or click in the description if you want to see even more screaming. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Fake is a pretty solid murder mystery tale that was well-paced and super engaging. The biggest problem was the consent aspect between our prospective couple, which started out decently and turned SA real quick. Thankfully, it wasn't on screen for a very long time, and the main focus of the series was the mystery in question. But it's really just such a massive shame that this detracted from what could have been a pretty solid episode, especially considering some of the deeper issues this series was addressing, including the never-ending cycle of revenge, how personal prejudices can translate into racist extremism, and the sheer evil that can consume people when their grief isn't properly processed and when justice is not properly served. If it wasn't for those two unfortunate scenes, I would have happily rated this a 7 out of 10, maybe even an 8 out of 10. But because of those elements, I did have to lower it. We are gonna give Fake a 6 out of 10. Now, I don't have a problem with super short anime like Merman in My Tub. They're just not really my cup of tea. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with this puppy, and a lot of people really enjoy it for being a cute little slice of life about a man and the mermaid that he happened to cross one fateful day. The episodes are split into little 3 to 4 minute segments. Nothing ever gets super deep, and the conflicts are minimal at most. There's even this kick-ass emo snail character who only speaks in existential dread who I deeply connected to. But yeah, it's just kind of there as an anime. Like, if you're looking for a cutesy little slice of life with lovable characters and minimal plot, you will definitely fuck with this one. I just personally need a little bit more substance to my anime. I'm not mad at this one, I'm just not impressed enough to swear by it as an official recommendation. So we're gonna give Merman in My Tub a 6 out of 10. I really tried to give this puppy a fair shake, especially since the genre just wasn't doing it for me, and the art style was aggressively 2010 in a derogatory way. But I don't know, it just didn't really stick the landing. Like, don't get me wrong, the world building is solid and did have some compelling moments, but overall, it just felt like work to binge it. The pacing felt kind of weird, but 24 episode series were a lot more popular back then, and if they had packed it all into 12 episodes, it would have been overloaded. The 24 episodes just felt ridiculously long. The battles had some cool moments, but something about them just couldn't keep me engaged for shit. And as for the gay stuff, I think it was just implied because there sure as fuck wasn't anything concrete on screen. They really decided to hide behind, oh, they were just in a heterosexual relationship in their past life. But now the main character got gender swapped in this reincarnation, so, you know, they're still together, it's fine. But the biggest slap in the face was the ending. Now, I did some digging afterwards, and apparently the manga ending fucking sucked too. They literally gutted the final battle in the anime so hard that when it cut to the next scene, I burst out laughing, cause like that was your climax? I'm not discounting the good parts, so we're gonna give The Betrayal Knows My Name a 6 out of 10. I'm honestly not sure what to think about Ai no Kusabi. Like, I'm gonna be reviewing the 90s adaptation and not the one from 2012. On the surface, I really adored the general nostalgic style and the hardcore Akira influence, which just oozes out of every orifice. The story is pretty intense, dealing with class warfare, one hell of a cruel caste system, and a very toxic relationship between the two main characters. At first, their relationship starts with consent, but as time passes, that consent gets more and more eroded, leaving the audience reeling from a very uncomfortable situation. Ai no Kusabi pulls absolutely zero punches with the ending, and it honestly had me reeling. I know this is a very controversial entry to the Yaoi universe, so I'm very interested to hear y'all's opinion on this, and if I'm being too generous with my rating. For those of y'all who've seen the 2012 adaptation, is that one even worth checking out, or is it kind of like a Berserk 2016 situation? For now, we're gonna give Ai no Kusabi a tentative 6 out of 10. Partners Territory was a breath of fresh air. I feel like so many romantic entries we see are all of the steps leading up to the couple getting together. But this one shows the life that they're able to build after they've overcome the societal hurdles and are finally able to actually just be together. We get to bathe in the blissful mundane moments of piecing a life together, moving into that first home, getting a dog, and getting to just be together. There's a few dramatic moments that test their stability, but for the most part, this is just a calming short film about a couple finally getting to relax and be together. Partners Territory gets a 6 out of 10. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of looking forward to Unexpectedly Naughty Fukami because I've actually read this manga, and I gotta say, the adaptation was pretty solid. Only problem is that it's just straight up hentai. It definitely feels kind of weird and a little bit wrong to rate this highly because of that element, which honestly sucks because this is actually a good story. I always love to watch fuckboys get their shit absolutely rocked and fall head over heels for the most unexpected partner. Do you get it? Do you see what I did there? Because, you know, the title is Unexpectedly Naughty Fukami. Okay, I'll shut up. I did appreciate that there were actual consequences for his fuckboy actions, and even though he was not the best person at times, consent was consulted and respected, which is kind of a major feat for this genre. So yeah, if you can get past the straight up yaoi-fueled hentai, it is a pretty decent anime. But that being said, this is obviously 18 plus, so proceed with the utmost caution, and for God's sake, do not watch this around anyone. I mean, unless they're also like into that, in which case, you know, have fun, I guess. We're gonna give Unexpectedly Naughty Fukami a 6.5 out of 10. Unbelievable Space Love is starting to convince me that if an anime is 10 minutes long, there is a 90% chance that it is going to destroy me both emotionally and mentally. Cause what the fuck? Like, how are you gonna tell me that much of a love story and then throw in that twist? Thank God this was on YouTube, so I was able to seek out the answers in the comments, which made it 10 times more devastating. This is one of the rare exceptions where I am tolerant of AI, because this particular AI entity kept the pilot alive as his ship spiraled towards Earth as he was running out of air. I really wish that we could have had a sequel to show how the main character handles the aftermath of this life and readjusting to a sense of normalcy. The length is really the only deterrent for this puppy, especially with how much I adored the simplistic art style. Unbelievable Space Love gets a 6.5 out of 10. Beauty and the Brawn is a meta look into BL culture that so many of us engage in. Except this puppy is also a period piece, which goes down during the Joseon era. We've got a noble who falls head over heels in love with a strapping new lad who's hired to help out. The two fall desperately in love, and this relationship inspires the main character to finally give writing BL professionally a shot. The concept of a man making his BL fanfics into a professional career during the Joseon period is one that I was not expecting to see. Despite its short length with only a handful of 5-minute episodes, this puppy covers a surprising amount of ground. Beauty and the Brawn never takes itself too seriously, and honestly, I appreciate that. There are far too many overly serious period pieces, so it's nice to have a dumb little goofy one to balance things out. Beauty and the Brawn gets a 6.5 out of 10. Bongchung Bride as a story is super solid, and the bits of the manhwa that I've read were really well done, with beautiful storytelling that is both compelling and heartbreaking. The anime was even able to replicate the unique art style, even with what I'm assuming was a very limited animation budget. The only downside is that because of the limited budget, it is a very stiff-looking anime, and not in the fun way. But jokes aside, they were able to tackle a lot of story in very short episodes, which in itself is a major feat. However, with the current state of the Korean animation industry, and especially since this is a BL, I'm not sure if we're ever going to get to experience that anytime in the near future, if ever, which is a real shame because I think Bongchung Bride is a story that could be very powerful given the resources to be properly told. I will take what I can get though, and I very much did enjoy this, to the point that I went and started reading the manhwa because I genuinely wanted to know what happened next. And that in itself is a win in my books. So despite the limited presentation, we are gonna give Bongchung Bride a 6.5 out of 10. Well, it wouldn't be a 2000s yaoi anime without Child S.A. Descendants of Darkness had a super solid premise that could have legitimately been a great anime, but they just had to throw in a child getting R-worded in the first arc. Like, what in the actual fuck? How the fuck am I supposed to rate this or even acknowledge what the anime did right when this is what I'm dealing with? I keep running into this conundrum, but after thinking about it for a while, since this act was seen as a horrific one and the villain is heavily shamed, I guess I can feel slightly better about its inclusion. After all, we don't want to just not show horrific things and use censorship as a way to silence victims, but it's all about balance, and since it was not romanticized, I do feel a little better about it. Other than that, this anime was surprisingly solid. It was very early 2000s, with a dub so bad that it made me laugh the entire episode. For early 2000s and horror anime, it definitely had some good moments in character growth. And honestly, I was even kind of surprised about some of it. I was really worried that they were gonna make the 15-year-old character a romantic love interest for the main character who is in his 20s, but thankfully they never went that route. Overall, it was very engaging and actually had me pretty invested in the outcome. But it was still kind of bad, but in a fun way, so I have decided to settle on giving Descendants of Darkness a 6.5 out of 10. I'm not gonna lie, Mirage of Blaze is a pretty solid show. There is a lot of intricate world building. The story has a steady pace, and the dub is even pretty decent for being an early 2000s dub. Overall, it is a pretty good time. Now, I may be stupid. No, really, that's it. I may be stupid because trying to sort out everything in my head and hold on to that much world building did not go well for me. This show throws a lot at you, and maybe it was the anime binge or my headspace in general, but I just could not follow big chunks of this for the life of me, and even went out and bought myself an energy drink just to try to lock myself in. I don't think that the rating should take a major hit for my own failings, but I also think that a better anime wouldn't make me have to work this hard. Is that me being lazy and entitled, or me bravely speaking words to power that very few dare speak? The choice is yours. As a whole, I get why this was such a majorly popular anime and how it shaped BL as a genre, and I can respect that. I only watched the 13-episode series and I didn't watch the OVA. My brain was just at its limit, so I called it. Let me know if I should check that one out too. For now, we are gonna give Mirage of Blaze a 6.5 out of 10. I was not expecting No Home to get as dark and go as deep as it did. I just thought this was gonna be an enemies to lovers slice of life, but it introduced some spooky horror elements. And then it pulled a 180 and went hardcore, let's explore our childhood trauma together. By the end of it, I had a completely different opinion on both of the main characters. One of them came from a seemingly normal and averagely privileged background, which was then ripped out from under him in the most devastating and traumatizing way possible. The other one never had stability and instead had to learn to fend for himself against the harsh realities of the world. On paper, these two probably would have never been able to find common ground, but living together in a haunted house forces them to face their own trauma, but also finally see each other for who they really are. I was seriously impressed by how much story they were able to tell with just a handful of mini episodes. No Home gets a 7 out of 10. I haven't seen Strangers by the Shore in years, but I finally rewatched it for this project. I had a lot of trepidations about this rewatch after hearing how many people were sketched out by 1, the age gap, and 2, a particular SA scene in the manga, so let's break it all down. When it comes to the age gap, we have 17-year-old Mio and 24-year-old Shun, which of course is unacceptable. The real question comes in, did Shun have romantic intentions with Mio at that age? I personally didn't see it. I think it was more coming from a place of concern, but the jury is still out. When they actually get together, they are now 20 and 27, which is still a little dicey, but much more acceptable. I think since Shun was not the one pursuing Mio and challenged him to really consider all of the difficulties of the relationship, I personally feel a little more at ease. I think my channel has given y'all the misconception that I am across the board anti-age gap, but I'm actually not. I am anti-inappropriate age gap, aka when the age gap involves a minor and a grown-ass adult. When they're both of age, especially both above the age of 25, I don't have a problem with it, unless it has signs of abuse and toxic power dynamics. Y'all might be very, very surprised to hear this, but I myself am actually in a 7-year age gap relationship where I'm 34 and one of my partners is 27. But back to the anime. For the most part, when it comes to Shun and Mio, for the most part, they seem relatively solid. When it comes to the SA, since that was not in the anime, even though that's absolutely unacceptable, I am not going to address it for this particular entry. If there ever is a sequel, you best believe I will be ripping that to shreds. We're gonna give Strangers by the Shore a 7 out of 10. My New Boss is Goofy is one of those comforting slice-of-life anime that helps you replenish the serotonin from whatever fresh hell robbed you of it today. I was really impressed by the way that it carefully and compassionately dissects the negative mental consequences that result from today's toxic work culture in Japan. Our main character is given a new chance at life when he starts his new job. After having his nervous system absolutely obliterated by his former abusive boss, he has prepared for the worst with his new one. But he ends up working alongside a gentle and goofy man who transforms his life in the best of ways. The way that this anime handles the aftershocks of abuse and what it can look like to rebuild your life after a traumatic experience was handled so well. Although this one's queer romance is more hinted at rather than visibly shown, there are canonically queer characters and there is no denying the chemistry between the main character and his boss. My New Boss is Goofy gets a 7 out of 10. For only a singular episode, Vassalord packs an insane amount of punch and accomplished so much in such a little amount of time. I am always a sucker for a good vampire tale, and this puppy did not disappoint. It was able to drop the audience cleanly into this world, explain the lore without being overwhelming, have a surprising amount of character development, develop an engaging plot, and land a pretty powerful ending, all under 28 minutes. Overall, this was just a really fun time. Both the action scenes and the emotional beats absolutely slapped. If you're looking for a short but sweet vampire one-shot, I would highly recommend this one. Vassalord gets a 7 out of 10. HELPLINE is less of a full-blown anime and more of a fancy PowerPoint. However, that PowerPoint in question is one hell of a ride. It's also spicy as fuck, and the uncensored version, well, let's just hope that no one whose respect you crave walks in on you. This is one of those red flag love interests whose aggression verges on sketchy consent, but they still somehow are able to communicate enough that it never crosses into full SA. I think this is a good example of how rough sex can look when there is consent, where on paper it looks dicey as hell, but in reality, it would not be possible if both parties weren't enthusiastically down. The storyline around the smut is ridiculously engaging, following a lone mechanic who gets locked into a dangerous lifestyle with a mob boss who only cares about his own interest. This is one that you kind of have to pick up the manhwa afterwards because it does end on a semi-cliffhanger, and as someone who has read parts of the manhwa, I do recommend continuing it. But yeah, just, be aware this one is more smut than plot, but goddamn does it pull it off well. HELPLINE gets a 7 out of 10. If we've learned anything from anime, it is never underestimate a blonde twink with too much time on their hands. And boy, howdy does this man use his time efficiently. The way that this man has every single man falling over themselves to be around him needs to be studied. I am dead ass about the twink part too, because he's literally called one multiple times throughout the show. Now, if you know me, you know that I do not fuck with isekai, but I really didn't mind this isekai adjacent selection. Was it the best? No, but it was enjoyable enough that I was genuinely kind of bummed out when it was over. I am for sure gonna watch the next season, and I'm really hoping that they lean more into the romance side. Cause yeah, this one was just goon central with longing glances and insane tension. A Gentle Noble's Vacation recommendation gets a 7 out of 10. One of the biggest criticisms that I've gotten on this channel is people assuming that I hate any and all anime that includes SA, grooming, and incest. But Twittering Birds Never Fly has all of those aspects and shows drastically different ways of how people deal with the after effects. We have 3 characters who have experienced or witnessed the worst that life can throw your way. One was groomed and SA'd by her father. When her older brother walks in on them, he nearly beats their father to death, which turns into a pipeline into joining the Yakuza due to limited job options post-release. But that experience, along with being SA'd as a teenager, has made him impotent, which in turn makes him irresistible to the other main character, whose childhood SA translated into him becoming hypersexual, to the point of him endangering himself. Now it is years after, and we watch how these experiences have shaped all three of these characters. Twittering Birds Never Fly is an honest and compassionate look at how SA and grouping shapes people, and the healing that we can find through connections with others. I thought it did a wonderful job handling these subjects, which is why I will continue to recommend it. Twittering Birds Never Fly gets a 7 out of 10. Ever watch an anime that made you go, what in the fucking hell was that, and how many metric tons of drugs were consumed to make something that unconscionably insane? And then I looked it up and discovered that Sarazanmai is from the creator of not only Revolutionary Girl Utena, but also Love Bullet Yurikuma Arashi. And now it's all making sense. But seriously, how many musical numbers about gay otters weaponizing their position of authority as police officers, and then across town you have boys turning into kappas extracting the deepest desires from someone's butthole, does one realistically need in an anime? Now, I have watched a lot of weird anime, and I think this has cracked my top 5. My personal favorite aspect of it was how much of it was in Asakusa. And as someone who spent a couple months in Tokyo this year, I had so much fun pointing and going, I've been there! So here's the million-dollar question. Was this anime actually good? And the answer is, I think so? It felt a lot more put together than Yurikuma Arashi, but not as in-depth as Revolutionary Girl Utena. So I think it sits somewhere in the middle. I literally have no fucking idea what I watched, but it was entertaining as hell and certainly was an anime. Sarazanmai gets a 7 out of 10. If y'all know anything about my manhwa consumption, it is that I adore Dangerous Convenience Store. Ajusi is my single favorite manhwa character, and despite having my tubes removed, I would figure out a way to have a child just to give it up to have a shot at having him. Ajusi and Dangerous Convenience Store is a solidly orange flag, and as much as I'm grateful that they made an anime out of it, I will never forgive them for changing up the art style. How are you going to take this work of art and turn him into this? My other major problem with this anime is that it's only 2 episodes. I have been in the trenches for this manhwa since the 5th chapter came out, and I will forever be preaching the gospel of Ajusi. Please just go read the manhwa, it is a work of art. And the spicy scenes? Good lord. Dangerous Convenience Store gets a 7.5 out of 10. Hyperventilation has one of the most breathtaking art and animation styles I've seen come out of South Korea. I was a little disappointed that this anime was so short, but then I went to read the manhwa and they literally adapted all of it and did it in such a beautiful and methodical way that I can't help but adore this anime. Despite its length, they were able to tell a surprising amount of story and also tackled a lot of deeper issues when it came to the homophobia and pressure to stay closeted in South Korea. I was also surprised by how good the spicy scenes were without leading into the whole fetishization and making their love feel exploitative. I would have loved to see even more episodes, but I'm happy with what I was given, and so grateful that art like this exists. Hyperventilation gets a 7.5 out of 10. Bang, 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 bang. This anime is a goddamn fever dream. What in the fuck were they taking when they came up with this concept? And can I get some of it? This is a bona fide love letter to all of the queer-coded mechas, except this one is cranked up to 11. If you are into mecha anime, especially parody gag mechas, this was made for you. There is a reason why this was one of the sleeper hits of 2024 and why so many of your favorite anime YouTubers raved about it. I was definitely surprised by some of the directions that it went in and was really taken aback by some of the choices that were made, but overall it was a fun and absolutely ridiculous time. In terms of originality, gayness, and just sheer insanity, this truly is one of a kind. You are either gonna love it, or it is going to be way too much for you. Or if you're like me, both. Bang Bang Bravern gets a 7.5 out of 10. When it came to Case Files of Jeweler Richard, I honestly started to get really worried that this fell more into the queer baiting category than actual BL. There's even a romance arc with the main character and a woman. However, by the end of the series, it became very clear that this was, in fact, a BL. The novel ending 1000% confirmed this too. The first couple episodes established this puppy as more formulaic and a little too slow-paced for my taste. So it was a massive shakeup when the final few arcs came out of absolute nowhere. Because of the slightly uneven pacing, I think the overall strength didn't quite lock in the way that I was hoping for. I really wish this series would have been as strong as the final 4 episodes. If it had, I would have given it a much higher score. But because of that, I've decided to settle with a respectable 7.5 out of 10. So to wrap things up, I have never been so relieved to make it to some good anime. Can't believe that next week is the final part, but that means that I get to give some anime that I genuinely recommend wholeheartedly. As always, I had to severely cut down and censor the out of this series. So if you'd like to see the uncensored extended director's cut of this and all other parts of the series, it is now up on my Patreon, which you can scan for here or click in the description. Shout out to all of my Patreon producers, including Kathy Richwine, Jeff Friend, Karen Miriam Goldberg, Horsey Brad, and a special shout out to Legion Zero. As we wrap up Pride Month, I have been unbelievably moved watching all the videos of Pride from around the world. Even more so from Japan and South Korea, where same-sex marriage is still illegal. It is just so heartbreaking to think about how all of these BL couples who we love so much would not be allowed to have a real shot at getting married out in the real world. As someone who was an activist during the eras where marriage equality was being fought for in the US, it makes me even more worried about having those laws rolled back. It is so deeply important for those of us who are privileged to live in countries where we can be openly ourselves and marry who we want to not take those privileges for granted. It is even more important to connect with our local communities and show up where we can. Now that Pride Month is over, a lot of that performative allyship is once again going to disappear. So I want to take this moment to remind y'all that you will always have a place on my channel. You are wonderful and valid exactly the way that you are. You are equally as valid if you're out and open or if you're in the closet. The world truly is a better place with you in it. So please try to stay here. Here are some resources for anyone who needs them. Depression and SI rates are much higher in our community compared to others, so please take care of yourself and seek the help that you deserve. I love that you've chosen to stay here, and it would mean so much to me if you can keep holding on and stay with us. I love y'all, and I hope that you had a wonderful Pride Month. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see all of y'all on the next one.